Hello, good morning. Welcome to the Prince's Trust Diversity and Inclusion webinar. This is a special edition live talk to celebrate International Youth Day. In the next hour, you will hear from our truly inspiring panelists to discuss future-proofing careers for young people. My name is Dagmar Bennett, and I work for the innovation team in the Prince's Trust. Over a year ago, I decided to change my career. After having a music studio business that turned into flats, I was applying for multiple jobs online and really struggled to get into work. Despite having a good degree and lots of freelance work experience, I found myself as an unemployed young person receiving help from the Prince's Trust. I did the enterprise course and I attended a Prince's Trust event called Get Hired, which at the time completely eradicated all of the barriers that I was facing getting into work. In one afternoon, I had 4 interviews with employers who were looking for young people. I walked away from that event with 2 job offers, and to this day, my manager still hasn't seen my CV. I've now been successfully employed for over a year in my first ever office job, and I'm now leading on the first Prince's Trust webinars. So young people, if you're out there, I completely know what you're going through. So please do reach out to the Prince's Trust because all of the services are free and they're super supportive and encouraging, non-judgmental and friendly. So please have a look at our website and just reach out to us. So I wanted to start these live talks to make a change to young people's lives. I believe that if we create economic justice for the next generation, then we create a more inclusive and equal workforce. Yes, we need to educate ourselves. Yes, we need to have open conversations. But most of all, we need to take measurable actions to make some real change happen within the companies and world of work. So I urge the audience today, whether you're a young person, a freelancer, or you work within a business, to please take some pen and paper and write down some key nuggets of knowledge that you will hear in the next hour. So bring up those nuggets of knowledge in your next work meeting and implement those changes within your world of work. Please support me on my journey because your opportunities really do change young lives. The Prince's Trust is the largest youth charity in the UK. We support thousands of young people aged 11 to 30 to help them get into employment. The Prince's Trust vision is that every young person should have the chance to succeed, to start something with confidence, courses, and career. So today, our special edition talk is celebrating International Youth Day, which is today. So this year's celebration is looking at youth engagement for global action. The aim of International Youth Day 2020 is to shed light on the need to enable engagement of youth by making local, national and global institutions more inclusive. This is split up into 3 sections, and today we'll be concentrating on engagement at the local community level. To mark International Youth Day, we have launched an exclusive annual Prince's Trust Youth Index, supported by L'Oréal Paris. So since 2009, our Prince's Trust Youth Index has measured the happiness and confidence of young people and how they feel across different areas of their life. Sadly, our report reveals today that among many concerning stats, the overall well-being of 16 to 25-year-olds has fallen to its lowest on the index in the 11-year history of the study. So I'm going to set the scene a little bit for you here and tell you a couple of stats to show you what the findings have shown. Over half of young people have reported always or often feeling anxious. The report has also demonstrated that young people are lacking in confidence. Over a quarter of young people reported feeling like they were going to fail in life, with a third of young people say that they feel powerless to change their future. In addition to that, the Young People in Lockdown report that the Prince's Trust has done in May 2020 has found that the Institute for Fiscal Studies has predicted that the lockdown will hit young workers the hardest. Young people are nearly 2.5 times as likely as other employees to work in a sector which is shut down due to social distancing measures. Alongside this, data from the Office of National Statistics shows that those under the age of 25 are already 4 times as likely to be unemployed as the rest of the working age population, even before the pandemic. So these really are the challenges that we face going ahead. Thank you to L'Oréal Paris for supporting our reports. So today we are going to have truly inspiring panelists. So I'm going to hand it over for the panelists to introduce themselves. Michelle, would you like to introduce yourself first, please?
Yes, thank you, Mark. Good morning, everybody. So I'm Michelle Farmer. I'm the Prince's Trust Director for Central England. So we divide England into 3 sort of chunks, and I look after the West Midlands, the East Midlands, and the East of England. I've been with the Trust for 3 years, done all sorts of other jobs. I actually started out working in the arts, social enterprise studios, and throughout my career, I've always kind of championed people who haven't always had the best opportunities, young people who haven't had the best start in life. So for me, the Prince's Trust is the perfect organisation to be able to do that kind of work. And it's International Youth Day, so it's a big day for us. I mean, it's a bit cheesy, but I would say that every day is Youth Day at the Prince's Trust. The difference today is it's International Youth Day, and we're living through a global pandemic, and young people all over the world, just like young people in the UK, are going to be worried about jobs, housing, education. We know that. So the Prince's Trust has a big voice, and we need to speak out for young people today and every day. Okay.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Michelle. Alan, would you like to introduce yourself next?
Well, my name's Alan Smart. I'm 22 and I came to the Prince's Trust in 2018. I was homeless in Sunderland and my dad just got sentenced to prison. I thought, if I'm going to be homeless in this city, I might as well take my chances. And I came running down London with my suitcase, and I got picked up by New Horizons Youth Centre, who helped us get my housing. And because they knew I loved music, they said the Prince's Trust to do a course called Get Started with Music. And I took part, and it inspired us to want to do more with that. So I started the Katie Palfman on the course. She told us, Alan, how would you feel about doing your mark programme with M&S? And it was the 5th year anniversary. And I said I would absolutely love to. And next thing, I got a job at M&S, and I've worked there for 2 years now in the flagship store. And it helps pay my music studios, and it keeps my roof over my head. So I'm not homeless anymore.
Amazing. Woohoo! Gina, would you like to introduce yourself next, please?
Yeah, hi, my name is Eugenia Moffat. I've been with the Trust for a very long time. About nearly 10 years ago, I was in Holloway Prison, serving a sentence for 6.5 years, and I thought my life was over. I didn't know where I was going, and one day an officer came in and said, the Prince's Trust is doing a business networking event downstairs. Would I like to go? Obviously, I said yes. I didn't want to be locked in my cell. And I went down there, and that day, not knowing that would be the best day of my life, that would change my world completely around. It will give me a new perspective of life. It will give me hope and stuff like that. So I managed to get down there. And the first question, the guy said to me, his name was Dave Doughty. He's an amazing man. One of the things with the Prince's Trust, all the staff, they are so magical. I don't know how they select them or how they get to be a part of that family, my little Prince's Trust family. And they said, what would you like to do when you come out of prison? And I said, I want to be a florist. And he never stopped. And he's like, why do you want to become a florist? And not kidding you, I did not have a clue that I wanted to be a florist. Next minute, I said, because there's no black florist in Tottenham, and I wanted to be the first black florist in Tottenham, because truly there's no black florist in Tottenham. I always thought it was really for middle class, classy people who have flower shops. And then my dream was to come to reality, went to college from the prison, getting released, and I had my first flower business inside the prison.
Amazing.
So doing flowers for the inmates and able to recruit inmates myself to be working. And we never get to spend any of our money, but they saved all our money for us. So it was like for visitors, people in the local area and stuff, and it went really well. And from then, the Prince's Trust has helped me to have my 2 cafe businesses, restaurant, and to strength. My dream was always to employ ex-offenders like myself, people who can't get into work, and now I'm working with a lot of care leavers and stuff, and I'm enjoying every moment of it.
Thank you, Gina. Thank you. Super interesting to hear both of your stories in the rest of the discussion. Thank you for the introductions. So throughout this talk, you're going to have an opportunity to put your questions on the right-hand corner. So please feel free to pop them in the chat box. Michelle, I'm going to chat to you first. Could you please, as the Director for Central England, a region of the UK that has home to some 60 million people, could you set the scene for the audience on what the current unemployment landscape is for young people?
Yeah, certainly. So it's a really, really difficult environment. So, you know, one of the measures that we all look to is how many people are claiming unemployment benefits. And unfortunately, that's doubled since March for young people. So we know that during from March to May, there were over 500,000 young people under the age of 24 claiming unemployment benefit. And of course, you know, there will be lots of other young people who aren't working, who are not claiming benefits. So this is a massive, massive problem. And during that same period, of course, the last few months, we haven't seen many jobs being advertised, have we? So there's been about an 80% reduction in new job opportunities. So there are young people there looking for work and not really sure where they can find that work. And it doesn't fall evenly on everybody. So there are some communities that are hit harder than others. And sadly, it's often the same places that we're already struggling. So if I think about my region, you know, inner city Birmingham, very vibrant, very young city, but always a lot of young people out of work. And currently, there could be 50,000 looking for jobs. So it's a massive, massive challenge. And then within that, I guess the people that I worry about are those who would have found it hard to find a job anyway. So people who've lived in difficult circumstances, like Alan and Gina have just described, you know, they're already up against it to try and find their way in the world. And now this happens. And so in some of the research that you were talking about, Dagmar, you know, there's also this phrase being used about scarring. Don't know if you've heard that, but the Resolution Foundation talks about a scarring a generation. And what that means is that what happens in an environment where there aren't enough jobs around and there are too many people chasing those jobs is that often people will accept employment which is slightly below what they might otherwise have done, and they accept a lower salary level, and that continues for years and years, and it takes them a long time to get to really where they might have been. So their prospects are kind of damaged for the long term as well as the short term. And that's why our work is so important, to help people into their first job and then help them still to be really aspirational about where that job might lead them. So we talk about A, B, C, D. We talk about a job, a better job, a career, and then a dream job. And we really want people to hold on to that ambition, even though it's difficult at the moment. You know, it will come good in the end. So we work with young people often to help them into their first job. And so you'll know, for a lot of people listening to this webinar will know that their first job was often in retail, it was in a shop, or it was in hospitality, it was in a cafe. And again, Alan and Gina, you've got that experience, you know that's where a lot of people start out. And those are the industries that have been most hit by the lockdown and now by social distancing. So there are fewer jobs there than there have been in the past. And of course, all of the worry that everybody's feeling is impacting on people's health and well-being, people of all ages, but particularly young people who are just starting out and who don't have the experience and maybe some of the resilience to think about those different options. They can't fall back on savings. You know, they've got to get out there and make a start in this environment. So it's really sad and not at all surprising to hear those statistics from L'Oreal's survey about how anxious people are feeling. And also that I think in the lockdown report, we heard that over 60% of young people who were surveyed, and we talked to a couple of thousand people, so this is a big group, you know, they're saying that they feel that their prospects are damaged forever. And we can't, as a society, we cannot allow that to be the case. So that's the doom and gloom. That's the environment that we're in. but we're going to do something about it. We are going to be positive about it. So the Prince's Trust has been around for more than 40 years. You know, there have been some bad times, there have been some recessions, and we've got through it, and we know what happens, and we know some of the things that will work to help us. We're fortunate that we've got a network that I think is second to none. We can connect with employers, we can connect with people who really want to support and invest in young people, and we'll be doing that. We're doing that now. We've moved all of our support online, and there's an awful lot we can do like this. I mean, look at the conversation we're having this morning. We're doing that without having to all be in the same place. We're doing it online, and we're doing that every day with employers. We're doing interviews, we're helping young people to apply for work. So we know we can do it. Now, the last time there was a big recession in sort of 2008-9, we did look to the big retailers, the shops, to help us with that. And there were lots of jobs in hospitality. This time round, it's different. And so we need to look to the sectors where their jobs are, and that's something that we can talk about this morning. But, you know, I always say to young people, OK, the jobs are not in the shop, maybe as much as they were, but we're all still buying stuff. It's just all being delivered to our house. So there are retail jobs, but they're in logistics, they're behind the scenes, they're in delivery. There's loads of digital jobs out there. Health and social care, fantastic opportunities. You know, we've all been out there clapping on a Thursday night for key workers. Nobody, you know, I don't think people have understood the role of key workers, and it hasn't had that status as much as it does have today. So if there's any young person thinking about a really secure job they can be proud of, then health and social care is a great sector. So, you know, we know there are skills gaps. We know employers are looking for a younger, more diverse, workforce that brings new skills. And we know those young people are coming through school and college and all of their lived experience, and they will be the future workforce. So we would encourage employers to keep a dialogue going with us about what they're looking for and help young people to understand what those jobs are. If those jobs have changed, then help us understand what they are. And then the other thing I would say, just sort of by way of introduction, setting the scene, is the other thing that we see when times get tough is that people start thinking about working for themselves. And that could be because they've lost a job. It could be because they've not been able to find a job. It might be that they've got some part-time work, but they could build up a business in the rest of their week. And Gina, you know, is a really good example of somebody that's really pursued a good idea, something that she's interested in, and she's turned it into a living for her. And we're seeing a lot of that. I mean, since lockdown, we've seen a lot of young people registering for our Explore Enterprise programme, which Gina would have done, which is normally face-to-face. We're doing that online. And you know what? People have got some amazing ideas for where they could go in the future and build their own business. And we know that that's what we've seen in sort of previous recessions, where, you know, people fall back on their own skills. And again, I would say to young people, you know, really think about what you're interested in, what you love doing, that you'd get up every morning to do, and see if that can be a source of income for you. And Alan, you did that with music. So, you know, so that's a sort of a bit of a whistle-stop tour of the landscape that we're in. Is that helpful?
Thank you so much, Michelle. That's really interesting what you were saying about the new sectors that are emerging for young people, and how companies who are listening can really keep the conversation with the Prince's Trust and young people. Alan, so as a young ambassador for the Prince's Trust, and you completed the Get Into programme, which you mentioned briefly earlier, you were also many of the young people put on furlough throughout the pandemic. Can you tell us a little bit about your story with the Prince's Trust, but also your experience over the last year?
Well, obviously I explained I got through the programme with my music and stuff, and it led into a full-time job. But with my employment at M&S, I had a special manager who took us in like a mother. When she found out that I just got my first house, she started giving us pots, pans, floors, candles, everything. She really had my back, and she gave us that discipline in my life, what I was missing. But unfortunately, I got put on furlough because I was high risk because I'm asthmatic, so I couldn't work in the store around people. And my family said it would be better off if I went to join them in Sunderland. And I went up Sunderland for 3 months, and I ended up homeless again because my family, the atmosphere was a bit toxic, and I was just flung on the street basically, and I wrote on Facebook, I've got nowhere to go, can someone take us in? And I couldn't get back to London, even though I had my house keys and my life down here. I couldn't get back because all the travel had stopped for a lockdown, so I was literally stuck in the streets, nowhere to go, even though my family around us, nobody was there. And a stranger, she took us in and she started to care for us. She was weighing us on the scales to make sure I was eating, and because I lost a lot of weight, I became anorexic at one point. And she gave us that care in my life while I was missing, and it inspired us to, I thought, well, if I'm going to be stuck in this city, I'm going to do it on my terms. And I started writing an album, and I contacted the local producer in the area, Jamal Graham, who's just worked with Dappy, and we just brought 5 songs out on Apple Music and Spotify and stuff. And my manager kept on contact with us the whole time. I didn't really want to tell her too much in depth about what was going on in my life because I felt ashamed. Like, I thought, I've had my life all back together, now I'm back to square one, and I didn't see any light, but she really did make sure I was okay because she was worried. And I think that's very important, just to take that time with your work colleagues and acknowledge that everybody comes from different challenging backgrounds, you know what I mean? But I did get back to London because I'm here now. I'm back in my house. My album's out there. I'm recording on Saturday. I'm filming the music video on Saturday at London Bridge. And it's just amazing. And I met all my work colleagues up again in the park, and we had a big catch up, and it was lovely to see my manager again, because when I was in Sunderland, I didn't think I was ever going to see the light of that tunnel. I thought my life was over. And just go to show it, just always believe in yourself and don't give up, because even though it's bad right now being on furlough, there's still a future out there. And while you've got the furlough, use it as a chance to use your creativity like I've done, and express yourself.
Alan, I love what you're saying about using your passion to get you through it, and it's amazing that you've used your music, and super interesting to hear real life story of how lockdown has affected you. Gina, as a Pride of Britain winner and someone who's set up a successful company, can you tell us a bit about your journey with the trust and how the virus has affected your businesses and your community?
With the Prince's Trust, I sleep, walk, breathe Prince's Trust, because they are my whole world. The first thing was called when the pandemic hit. I remember Vicky calling me, "Are you okay? Lockdown, how is it affecting you?" And I was getting emails from different people from the trust, and they were so worried about me. And I was thinking, this is my family right here, because they are worried, because they know how much I've put into the businesses and stuff. And I was so devastated because I had people who never had a job before working for me, people who are in care, and all of a sudden everything has been taken away and they're all being furloughed. Thank God for that as well. So the government has done some good thing as well. So a lot of my staff got furloughed. But now is a thing of where I have to start making some redundancies, because the second cafe, one of the cafes, won't be able to open this year because it's part of a theatre, and the theatre can't afford to keep the building going and stuff like that. So I've been looking, and every member of my team, they're all like my family as well, because we've all coming from different backgrounds and being able to support each other and stuff like that. They literally support me so much, in the sense that where the business is, and I wouldn't be there without them. So how do you choose who to give redundancies to and stuff like that? So we had a meeting together, and we just came to it that we'll make it work out. They will start trying to create their own little path, what they want to do. The Princess Trust enabled me with that, where the Development Awards helped one of the staff to get a security course done on lockdown. How amazing is that, on lockdown, and they're able to still do a security course online. And then Development Awards gave them a badge, able to pay for the badge. So now they're working for a local supermarket as a security guard. So that's taken somebody who I was going to make redundant off furlough into a job straight away in lockdown, and that wouldn't be possible without the trust. So there's loads of different people who they've helped set up their own business. So people working, sometimes they don't know how to even manage their time because they've never had the structure of work, they've never worked in an environment. So you have to be so willing to open your doors and just be that mentor, that support, that person who understands their needs, or they're having housing issues, so they might not be able to come in the time they're meant to. So you just have to have an understanding that it's so different, it's so hard for these young people that you have to make little steps, but then you still have to have that discipline and say, no, this is that. If you do this, this is what you're going to get out of it. You're not going to get out of it. So far, 2 of the staff, one has started up their own hairdressing business, doing a mobile hairdressing, and
Gina, that's a great point that you were making about the importance of like online and the support Prince's Trust have done, but also the importance of your colleagues through such a difficult time. Michelle, what are the benefits to companies employing young people, and how can they start that process?
Okay, well, there are loads of benefits. I mean, you just listen to the energy that's coming from Gina and Alan, and you know what that's going to bring to your company. So there's a fresh perspective. They are literally a new pair of eyes. They're just starting out. This is the most diverse generation we've ever had. So they will bring a whole load of new contacts and just a new approach to the world. They'll come with new skills. They've grown up in different times. You know, technology being an obvious one. I always think that when I'm recruiting, when I'm interviewing somebody, I think partly about the job it is I want them to do today, but I think just as much about where might they be tomorrow. So you know, you're employing a young person for what they're going to be as much as for what they can do today. So I'd encourage people to think about that. And really, as I said earlier, help them understand what the job is. So, you know, if you're trying to recruit to an entry-level job, explain what's involved, make it clear, and help a young person to overcome some of those basic kind of obstacles. Like Alan said, you know, somewhere to live, pots and pans. Quite often we'll be asked about transport. What do I wear? What's the uniform? You know, basic stuff. And I think for all of us who've been at work for a while, try to think back to how it felt to start out. You know, what did you need to know? Who helped you? And so often what young people will tell us, and Alan's just said it, is there's somebody who takes on a bit of it's not necessarily a parent, we often think it's like an older sibling, somebody's looking out for you within the employer. And as an employer, if you can train somebody up to be a buddy for your newest recruits, actually that's good for them too. And we see that work really well, and we see some great relationships form. And then over time, where we place young people into companies, so Marks and Spencer's is a really good example. We've been doing that for years. Those young people that have come through that system then help the next ones through. So you end up being able to communicate those sort of cultures and those values for how you work as a business all the way through as new people join. You know, the best teams, the strongest teams are made up of people who are different, not everybody all being the same. So I would really encourage employers to think about, you know, how diverse is your organisation? Be honest about it. Have you got all the bases covered? Have you, you know, do you reflect the customers you're trying to serve? And if not, think about how you can reach into those communities and encourage a young person to come and work for you. And the kinds of things that we know is young people look for the values of a company, not just what the job is and how much it's going to pay, but what do you really believe in? And that's the stuff, in my experience, that we quite often talk about kind of indoors in our training programs, but we don't always put it out there to the world to tell a young person, well, this company really believes in investing in diversity or investing in young people and the climate, you know, things like that young people are really interested in. If they see that in the values of the company, then they'll connect with it. So you need to stand out. You need to recognise that with what I've just described is potentially 500,000 people looking for work. You know, you could get lots and lots of applications. So think about how are you going to sift that then? And what we typically see is, well, you need 5 GCSEs with English and maths, or you need a degree. And I guess I would say to an employer, do you really though? Do you really, really need that? Because if you don't, take that barrier down and think differently about who you want, what skill set you're looking for, and are there other ways for you to find that out? And one of the best things we do is put people on work experience, a proper work placement, where they can feel how it feels to do that job. Some of our best examples are in transport or health and social care, where you literally get the uniform and you go and try it. And then the customers, your clients, will treat that young person as a member of staff, and they'll get a real sense of how that feels. And as an employer, you've had an extended interview now, so you've got a good idea, is that person going to fit in or not? So try some different ways to recruit young people, because they're a different generation.
Yeah, thank you, Michelle. Myself, I was trying to apply for a job and went to get hired and, you know, got 2 job offers. So I definitely agree with you about thinking differently and how employers, you know, can really adapt their recruitment process, use work placements, open your doors up. Alan, could you tell us a little bit about some of the solutions that you feel like would help young people grow in the workplace?
Well, talking from my experiences, because I left school with no qualifications, but luckily I managed to get apprentice for health and social care, and I did start looking after adults with learning disabilities, and I got apprentice of the year, leaving school, no qualifications. But going into the work, the one thing what's made us focus is because I've knew somebody's looking at us. Like, I've had like my manager, for instance, this woman is giving her time, and she is taken from outside of work and just looking at me as a normal person who needs a chance. And she hasn't judged us. She knows I come from a challenging background, but the fact that she believes in me, it makes us not want to disappoint her. And I just think it all starts with the top. It all, if this woman's inspiring me enough, then I'm going to be going on to inspire somebody else. And it's really good to have a strong relationship with your staff team as well, because you just got to just appreciate outside of work, where we're all strangers and we all have our own lives. So while we're in work, just take that little bit of time and get to know that person, because all they could need is a chat, and next thing you know, there could be Alan Sugar next week. So you never know.
Yes, all right.
You're mute, Dagmar.
There's lots of positive feedback about you, Alan, in the chat. So you're inspiring a lot of people on the call. And I think what you're saying about the importance of mentoring. So really thinking about how managers approach their role, and that importance of mentoring. Gina. So
I love this guy. I love him. I'm so in love with him. It's amazing. He's inspired me. I just want to get to work.
Yeah. How do you feel that companies can create a company culture to retain and elevate young people within the workplace?
With me personally, what I try to do with my business, when I open my doors, get staff in and stuff like that, I give it to them like a canvas. This is your business. What would you like to bring to the business? How do you think me and you can make this business grow even better than what I'm doing? What do you think will improve this business? And half the time they come out with so many different amazing ideas, and we implement it. They get a bust. They feel like they're part of the business. They take ownership of it as well. So it doesn't become just Gina's business. It becomes, it's a family business. And I said something and she's implemented it, and it's for me to take care of it and stuff like that. And with lockdown, I literally had a crisis in my own home, where my kids have just taken their A-levels, getting ready for university and stuff, where they're thinking now they're not going to go at all. I never went to university. I haven't got any GCSEs at all. That's what I'm saying. The trust comes in hand again because of Vicky. Vicky York. She's been amazing. She's been their role model. So she's told them about the uni culture, what to expect from uni. So they've been so excited about going to uni and stuff. Now they're thinking it's not going to happen because they don't know what grades they're going to get and stuff like that. So I just been listening to them talking to each other, and I got 4 of their friends together, and they're literally taking my business and revamping it in the sense that I've never had an Instagram. They're building an Instagram digital, and there's so many talent with young people, what they know about this media digital world I don't have a clue about, and I'm sure a lot of businesses don't have the know-how what these young people do have. So that's why I'll say the youngsters have digital mind, like they were born with it. In my generation, there was no such thing. I could, there was nothing. This is showing my age now, guys. Yeah, there was no such thing. So, people going into the digital world is a big, big business, and that's where the mega bucks are. And these guys are doing it in their fingertips like it was yesterday. And I just say, like, anyone who's looking to take a young person on, give them a blanket, give them a space in your environment, and let them be them and let them create. When these young people start creating, they come bigger than you. Do you know what I mean? They can shine, because I'm just with my little trials and tribulations of what I've gone through in this lockdown. They've made my business shine totally. And if you go into Bloomington right now, I've got 4 young people driving the business. So we've joined the government scheme and people are going through the doors. And I was thinking, how is it going to work? They had different mindset. People can book on tables and stuff like that, where I was thinking, that's not going to happen for me. That's not my thing. Just walking in, and they've taken over the business, and I can sit here with my mate and just relax and just enjoy what we're doing here. And I think with the trust, anything what you do, just just ask for help. Don't be afraid. Don't even be worried about you're not good at something. They're always there to help. Do you know what I mean? And if you know I don't have a lot of know-how about a lot of business, and now I'm running 2-3 businesses, and I thought my business would have collapsed overnight, and it's going strength to strength. And it's gone down to 1.5 business, but it's still making money. So, and I'm still able to help staff, and people, they're helping me, and we just love doing it together, and growing as a family. And I can't wait to play Alan's music in there when I go back. So I'll be like, everyone, this is my new mate, Alan, listen to it.
Gina, we're getting a lot of really good feedback on the chat, actually. Someone said, we need more people like you, Gina. So inspiring hearing you talk about your business ideas and how you work with your team. It's super inspirational. And to me, I always say on these talks, young people are the future, so we always need to uplift their voices and listen to what they have to say. So I just want to end the discussion really with asking each of the panelists, if you could talk directly to the audience and tell them what one key measurable action you think that the audience should take away today and go and implement within your company. What are those key actions? Michelle, would you like to go first?
Yeah, so I think for the benefit of the company and the young person, you've got to find a different way to recruit. You can't keep relying on all of these academic pathways that we all thought was the route to a job, because the world has changed and it isn't. So go back and think genuinely, what is the skill? What's the talent that I'm looking for? And find a different way to do it, and we're always more than happy to help.
Thank you. Alan, what's your one key measurable takeaway action for the audience?
Well, I just think I think when it comes to the employers, they need to look at us as people and not employees, because you just need to take that time to get to know somebody and that's how you're going to get them to develop, by getting to know them and seeing them grow. And it's going to be fantastic being a part of their success, because they're your success.
Yeah. Yep.
Amazing, thank you. And Gina, what's your one key measurable action for the audience to take away?
I think Alan said it on the note. Don't judge a book by the cover. And sometimes it might look all grubby outside, but when you shine it off, it's bright and shiny. And just knowing that you made that, you know, you've helped that shine, and that's going to help somebody else shine. Because with me, the Princess Trust helped me shine, and my children are shining, and my children, and I know their generation is going to shine, and they're going to pass it on to the rest of the family. And now in my community, I always want to be a role model that can improve other people's. People see me, they feel like they can do it as well, and they can do even 10 times better than me. And I know, and every time I'm like, oh my God, these new businesses are coming up, and these are younger and bright ideas, and I'm nicking some of their ideas and tweaking it and stuff like that. So please just give people an opportunity, second chances. Even if they need a third, don't give up on them. And I think young people will never disappoint you. They won't. You know, I don't ever want to disappoint the Princess Trust. And you know, the secret behind it, every time I feel like I can't get up in the morning or can't do it anymore, I just think about everybody at the trust. What are they going to say now? I'm going to be such a letdown. No, that's not happening. So that's what I would say. Just give people second chances, third chance, whatever they need. Just give them a chance.
Brilliant, thank you everybody. We're going to move on to Q&As now. So I know that there's a couple of Q&As that have already come through, loads of amazing feedback for the both of you, that everybody's loving listening to your stories, so that's super great. So if you've got any questions that you want to ask, please pop them in the chat box now. We will try our best to answer as many questions as possible. So we've got a question that's coming here. Michelle, how can businesses retain young people?
Okay, so retention is really key. I mean, getting the job in the first place is just the beginning, isn't it? What you want is people to stay. So we know that some of those sectors I've mentioned, health and social care is a good example. The NHS has got a huge problem with young people staying in work. So sometimes we can get them into the job, but how do we get them to stay in what is a really difficult, stressful environment where the pay sometimes isn't great at the entry level, and it's been all too easy to just walk away and get another kind of job. So we've talked and a lot with employers about retention, and we've talked to young people about what makes them stay. And so we've got some insights there. And it's against a backdrop of work having changed for people. So actually, young people are not coming into the workforce believing they're going to get a job for life. They're not going to work for the same employer forever. So what we see is quite a lot of, we'd call it churn. So I've done some research, particularly in the West Midlands with the mayor there, and we see on average about 15,000 young people in a city the size of Birmingham who's cycling in and out of unemployment, and they'll take 6 months and then they'll move on to somewhere else. And it's a mixture of, sometimes the young person just wants to go and try something else, and that might be fine, but often it's because the employer hasn't held on to them. Perhaps they've only given a short-term contract, and so I'd ask you to think, can you make it a permanent contract? That's a much more attractive offer than something fixed term. Sometimes the pay and conditions haven't been great. Sometimes 0 hours contracts. I mean, if I could get rid of one thing, it would be that. So 0 hours contract where a young person thinks they've got a job and actually they're not being called in to do any work. So we know some of it is poor kind of employment conditions, and some of it is just an impatience amongst young people to get on and do something else. So I think one of the ways that you get people to stay is to build in some of the things you've heard about here, that connection to other people within the the work group. Make sure that they've got friends, they've got support, that builds that sense of loyalty, exactly as Gina described, that somebody is going to think twice about leaving if they've got a personal investment now into somebody who's there and they really care, they're proud of the organisation they work for, they'll want to stay in that environment. So, and we know that sometimes our work is about helping them. That's, Gina's got it inbuilt, so she's got that conscience that says, I can't let people down, I'm going to have to get up and go to work. Others struggle with that a bit more, and I can think of one company where 3 years later they can still ask us to give this lad a ring and remind him he's got to get up and go to work, because if you're in a household where nobody else works, you haven't got that environment, and it's really tough sometimes to get up early and go to work on a horrible day. So think about where work is in somebody's life, and how to build that loyalty, and it comes, more than anything, it comes through personal relationships, I think.
Thank you. Yeah, the importance of personal relationships with your workforce. Alan, we've got another question here, if you'd like to answer it. What do you think that young people need during this time? How can we be most effective with helping them in the workplace?
Well, I just think it's definitely supporting the person's, like, just don't think of them as an employee and as a person, because especially just keeping in contact, because when I come back to London, straight away I had Helen from the Prince's Trust wanting to meet up with us to check that I was okay, to check my well-being, making sure I was all right. And I just think by people having strong communication during these times, it lets people know that they're not on their own.
Thank you, Alan. Gina, we've got another question coming in here. What kind of roles do you think that young people want to see now?
What kind of, oh God, they would like, I say young people, they always want this big role, this in these jobs. I'm just saying, take little baby steps and little jobs. You can start in from a little cleaning job to be a manager of a big department store, or have their own little businesses. What I've noticed in Tottenham, in Haringey, a lot of young people are doing their own business and starting up in their own little businesses, in the sense that they having different ideas, that they can't get in the idea that working for somebody is not viable. So they're trying to do their own thing, maybe into the music industry, or into designing their own clothes labels. I've seen things like, especially cake business is a big business, cake pops. I've seen so many different businesses in this, especially in lockdown. The amount of people who was doing things online was crazy, it was phenomenal. It was crazy. I had a few people popping up to me, or just calling me up saying, Gina, I'm trying to set up this business. How do I register it? I don't want to do anything wrong. How do I get this certificate and stuff like that? All through like setting up their own little businesses. So young people are trying to create businesses as well of their own, where they can probably end up employing people, or their own type of networks and stuff like that. So I think the enterprise business, what the Princess Trust offer, I know is going to be a big intake for young people, because I've referred so many people into that line already. So I think that is definitely a big thing. And I think people are looking even into security, different type of jobs they never thought they would be applying for, they are applying for. So I'd say definitely there's people are looking at different avenues at the moment.
Thank you, Gina. Michelle, I've got a question for you here. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it from someone in the chat box. Due to the likelihood of young people are now going to have reduced access to traditional work experience opportunities, are there any ways you envisage this being addressed? Have you seen any examples?
Yeah, we have during lockdown seen some examples of people being able to give some insights into the world of work, because work experience is well, like an interview, it's a two-way process, isn't it? So you want to use it to be able to explain to a young person what's really involved in this job, and you can do that through video, through a webinar like this. So we could get, for example, a healthcare assistant online to chat to a young person about what's really involved in that job. That's half of it. The other aspect of work experience is, of course, that young person seeing how it feels to do that job. That's trickier at the moment, unless you are an organisation which is able to work at the moment. So obviously, if you've got people on furlough, it's going to be really hard, isn't it, for you to offer work experience. But if you're still doing your work, then there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to connect a young person and give them some real tasks to do. So if I think about what we do at the Prince's Trust, partly we will run the Get Hired events that you've just heard spoken about. A few of you have spoken about that. We've got employers coming to live events. They'll do that first round interview with a young person, and as part of that conversation, they're explaining to them what's involved in the job. So we know some of that has translated online, but we also know that within our own business we are taking in some more student placements, so young people who've maybe just graduated need to get some work experience, and we're giving them real tasks to do. So they're leading on some of our social media campaigns, for example, and that's a trade, isn't it? It's good for them and it's good for us. It's giving some fresh skills, it's giving them something to put on their CV. They'll get a brilliant reference from us. You know, loads of businesses could be doing that, and potentially small businesses. And what we need to remember is that sometimes it's easier for the bigger companies to offer work experience because they've got so many locations and so many staff. But actually the vast majority of people work for small companies, not the big ones. And those small companies, if they were clear about the piece of work that they wanted to do, wanted to invite somebody to do some work experience, then it could really be beneficial to them. So some of the things that Gina has said about young people helping her get her business a bit more profile, you could set somebody a task and it would be work experience, but it would benefit you too, and not for a long time. I'm not talking about unpaid volunteering, but I mean just a bit of an insight into how you might market something, and it would give you a real understanding on both sides, both the potential employee and the employer, what's really involved, you know. And a lot of time what we're doing is we're helping to create a situation which might be a community project. So some of our programs will have a community projects in them where, okay, it's not a job as in going to work every day, but they're taking a role in a team, which is really meaningful bit of experience, that when it comes to an interview, they can say, yes, I've been part of a team. Yes, I've taken some responsibility. Yes, I've dealt with, you know, a particular situation, and they're drawing on that experience that we've given them from a real project that they've worked on. So I'd think about some of those things to give proper work experience opportunities.
Thank you, Michelle. That's great to hear your insights and thoughts on that. Someone's actually put in a bit of research saying that new research from the Sutton Trust has found that many organisations who previously offered internships or work experience placements have cancelled them during the lockdown, with just over 3/5 of employers cancelling some of their placements and only about a third continuing all their usual placements. So that really shows the effect.
That is right, Dagmar, and apprenticeships too. People have put things on pause. Now that's partly because they don't know. They don't know what's going to happen later in the year. But and I noticed there was a comment about colleges there as well. As the FE sector finds its way through the sort of autumn period and works out how to work in social distancing, I think you'll see some of those apprenticeships come back, and that's certainly something which the government is investing in. So I'm hoping, you know, I'm always an optimist. I'm hoping some of this stuff is paused, not cancelled.
Yeah, agree. We like them to continue the work internships. Thank you. We've got another question here that says, I'm a recent graduate finding a job and that's been providing I've had difficulties with money and has been a problem. What can we do to help our chances to finding a job? Any advice would help. I'm not sure if Gina or Alan or who would like to take that.
You've just said like volunteering. At the end of the day, if you're looking for a job, then find something where you can get the experience from to give yourself a foot in the door, like give yourself a head start, because it's always good to have knowledge and like a bit of experience before you go up to any employer So I would definitely try and, like we say, is volunteering, have a look into see if there's something there, what you possibly could to build up your experience and knowledge before you go and look for a real job, because there are some places are going to be asking for experience. So it's really important that you just get a bit volunteering behind you.
Thank you, Alan.
Can I just add a little thing there as well?
Yeah, of course.
We've done some research recently, and 85% of jobs that are being advertised requires you to have a basic kind of technical skill set around all the Microsoft Office products, be able to set up a spreadsheet, manage your online diary, that kind of thing. So I would say to people, keep those skills fresh, because every single job is looking for those.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. Okay, we've got another question here that says, what steps can be taken to stop employers from discriminating against young people from diverse backgrounds? Not sure who wants to. I'm going to open that up to the floor. Who would like to take that?
That's a big one to open. I'd say with diversity, I think, how do we stop it? I just think with all what's going on at the moment in this in the media, everything with Black Lives Matter, everything else what's going on, I think people should start employing people for the skills they have and stop judging people by the colour of their skins or what their backgrounds are like and stuff like that, and give everybody a chance, an equal opportunity to, because when I want to employ someone, I don't look at where they come from or where they're coming from or anything like that, but I just tailor to give the job to who I think will benefit for having that job. Maybe they might not have that skill, but I just know that it's going to make a difference to them, to give them that opportunity to open that door for them. So that's what I make my different judgment on. So it doesn't really matter where they're coming from and stuff like that. So with diversity, I think that word should be taken out of the dictionary, really and truly. I think there shouldn't be no word of anything saying diversity, because it puts it out there. So the more people see focusing on it in the media, everything else, it's feeding it more, and it's I don't see anything like that at all. So with that, I think we should just cancel it all out together. Yeah. Sorry.
Thank you. No need to apologise. Okay, so we've got a final question here. A lot of entry-level jobs require previous experience. However, no job is allowing us to be successful in order to gain experience. What recommendations can you give employers on what they should be looking for? I'm going to open that up to the floor as well.
I think with the employees, it's not regardless of what the qualifications are and this and that. You just need to look at that person and just think, are they going to better the business? Can I help this person grow? Can I help them develop? Can I give them the chance and stuff? Because regardless of qualifications and experience, it doesn't matter. As long as you're willing to work and willing to grow and develop, that's all that should matters. Because skills are learned every day. Yep. Not everybody knows everything. We're learning every day. So why not give this person a chance who hasn't got the skills and learn them the skills? That's a chance for yourself.
Yay! Well said, mate.
You're right. You're absolutely right, Alan. But also, you need to be a little bit realistic about there's going to be loads of people out of work. There will be loads of people who've lost a job who have been working, who could walk in and get on and do the job. So if you wanted to try that bit harder to employ a young person, because it really, really matters to them and it will change your business for the better, you're going to have to think about how you create that opportunity to have exactly the kind of conversation you've just described, Alan. So how are you even going to meet them? So is there a different way you can open up those opportunities? Can you invite a lot of people, to a conversation like this? Talk to them about what you do. People do, I mean, on the diversity question, people do recruit in their own image. That's a fact. Yeah. So if you want a more diverse workforce, you're going to have to start by reaching out to people who are more diverse. Find out what they think of your company. does it resonate with them at all? Can you describe what you do differently? You know, have that dialogue. You know, we talk to fabulous young people, just like Alan and Gina, every single day, who would be very open to a conversation about, do we understand what you do, and would we want to work for you? So there's a lot that can be learned, I think, by employers.
Thank you. Would you like to add you got 1 minute, Gina, go for it.
That's one thing with, you know, Get Hired. I think Get Hired got it right on the spot. In the sense that what I liked about Get Hired, anytime I come to Get Hired, I love it because there's different energy in the room all the time, and the young people are so excited because they never ever thought they're gonna get all these employees in one room seeing them at that time. So they've got the belief that, you know, they're getting an interview, because so many people send out CVs or whatever, never even get a stage of an interview. So having the employees all in one room and you're just jumping, you're selling yourself from desk to desk. How can you beat that? You cannot beat that, because nowhere you can go and meet all these employees in one room, and it's all different sectors in one room. Different,
Gina, I think
job to the bottom end job, it's all in one room. So it's like
Gina, I think that's a great point that you're saying about it really cuts out the admin for employers. You can just turn up to one room and meet loads of young people. So I'd like to thank all of our panelists today. You've been really inspiring. Thank you, Michelle, for all of your thoughts, and to Alan and Gina for your stories. As I said at the beginning, we need to educate ourselves and have open conversations, but we really need to take these measurable actions that we've spoken about today and implement within our companies. So please help me on my mission to change young lives. So in response to the crisis of the pandemic, the Prince's Trust has launched Young People Relief Fund. So by donating to the Young People Relief Fund, you can help a young person who are missing school or college to continue their learning. You can support young people who are out of work and get them into a job. You can also give the most vulnerable young people the support they need to cope with day-to-day anxieties and uncertain times. So please go on our website and have a look at the Young People Action Relief Fund if you'd like to donate. If you've also been inspired by today's talk, please check out the Get Hired platforms we've just launched in Manchester and online, so please have a look at that. We will send out the recording to everybody on the call and to everybody who has signed up from the Eventbrite link. Thank you so much for everybody. Enjoy the sunshine and look out for our next edition of Live Talks. Next is 27th of August, and it's all around championing neurodiversity and disability in the workplace. Thank you very much, everyone.
You're amazing. Well done. You're a great host.